ChiroFusion's dynamic dashboard is something that truly sets us apart from our competitors. The dynamic dashboard has been designed to help improve office productivity and save time by providing you with a clear picture of your practice's performance and shortcuts to all the work that needs to be completed. It gathers and displays important practice and provider metrics based on the time frame and providers selected at the top. Here under our Notification Center, we can see the amount of SOAP and exam drafts that need to be signed, along with the amount of pending tasks. If any scheduled recurring patient payments have failed, they will show here. The number of claims that were rejected and waiting to be reviewed or refiled will show here. Any unposted ERAs or EOBs that need to be reviewed and closed will also show. Here we will see patients that have authorizations that are soon set to expire, and any treatment plans that are getting down to the last couple visits. Furthermore, clicking on the item will take you directly into that specific area of the system, making it easy for you to review and manage that task. Next on our dashboard, we have our appointment snapshot. This will display the total of completed patient appointments, no-shows, cancellations, and new patient appointments. The pie charts will break down your appointment totals by type and also by payer. This snapshot allows you to easily visualize and track patient appointments. Moving on down, we have our key performance indicators that will display total charges, payments, refunds, and adjustments. Lastly, we have our accounts receivable snapshot that will display aging accounts receivable by insurance and patients. Utilizing ChiroFusion's dynamic dashboard will save you time and ensure nothing falls through the cracks. Let's have a look at the scheduling module and begin with scheduling a patient. We can double-click on the desired day and time and select our patient from the drop-down menu. We could also add a new patient from this screen by clicking the plus icon. Our provider is already selected. We can select whether to send our patient an email reminder, text reminder, or both. Next, we can select the corresponding case as well as the appointment type. The name of the appointment type, the color associated with it, along with the duration of the appointment are all items that you would have already created or customized from within your admin account. Moving on, we can select the appointment status and add a note or comment to this appointment if needed. After clicking Save, we can see that the patient has been added to our schedule. Each appointment will have a person icon on the right-hand side that opens up the patient's V-card. The V-card will display information pertaining to the patient's contact info, the current appointment, and their next appointment, as well as a summary of their financials. We can easily edit the appointment by clicking Appointment Details. And while we have this dialog window open, I'd like to demonstrate how we can schedule a series of appointments at once. We can set a series of weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly appointments by selecting to edit the series and inputting the appropriate criteria. Back to the V-card, we can now see the patient's next appointment. At the bottom of our V-card, we have a couple of shortcuts. The Create SOAP Note button will take us into documentation where we can complete our note. If the SOAP or exam note was already completed for this data service, the button would appear green and if clicked, would show the PDF of the signed note. The Patient Dashboard button offers a shortcut into the patient's profile, and the Patient Accounting button will take us over to billing, specifically under the patient's account where we can collect a payment. Once our patient arrives in the office, we can right-click on the appointment to check them into the waiting room, and also to track them throughout the office. As you can see, we have different options including treatment and massage rooms, and also the ability to mark them as a no-show, cancellation, rescheduled, or completed appointment. Once we check them in by changing the status to waiting room, a pop-up will appear displaying any notes or alerts we have previously set for this patient. We have several different views to choose from when looking at the calendar. We have day view, week view, month view, and the events list. Looking at the top left-hand corner, we can use the arrows to move forward and backward, or use the calendar icon to navigate to a specific day. If we have a need for a printout of our schedule, we can generate a PDF version at the bottom. We just need to select the date, the provider, hit print, and we'll be able to print it out. Next, I'd like to speak briefly about our automated email and text reminders. The email reminders are set to send 24 hours in advance. The text reminders can be set for 24 hours as well. However, you will see within your settings that you have several different options to choose from. The texts are two-way real-time reminders. This means that the patient can respond to the text message with a yes or a no, and your schedule will reflect the confirmation with a green or red dot. The green dot means they responded yes, and a red dot indicates the patient has declined the appointment. Above the schedule on the right-hand side, we have Run Reports, and this gives us a variety of reports we can run that are related to scheduling. We can track patients that have no-showed, canceled, or rescheduled. We could generate a list of inactive patients, and also pull up appointment history. We can run these reports for all patients or for a specific patient. All of these reports can be printed or even exported to be further managed in a program outside of ChiroFusion, such as Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. A couple of other features we have to offer are online scheduling and online intake forms. You can embed the link for online scheduling on your website, social media accounts, or even your email signature. This gives your patients the ability to schedule an appointment at any time of day, any day of the week. Let's walk through the steps of scheduling an appointment from a patient's point of view. The patient will select the type of appointment and the provider. They will then select the day and time of the appointment. The availability that shows here will be based off the settings you configure. Current patients will input their last name and date of birth, and new patients will click the New Patient button. A summary of the appointment details will display, and we can click to schedule. The next page shows confirmation. The office will receive a confirmation email, as well as the patient. The confirmation email for new patients will include a link to your intake forms, so they will have the option to complete them from home before their appointment. Once completed, the intake forms will sync into their patient profile in your ChiroFusion account. As you can see, ChiroFusion has worked in automating the patient onboarding process to help improve efficiency in the office. And this concludes our walkthrough of the scheduling module. ChiroFusion's reporting module was developed with input from a team of chiropractors, a compliance expert, and a former insurance claims analyst. With this in mind, you can feel confident that you're creating a fully compliant note that will stand up to the scrutiny of insurance companies. We can enter the patient's profile directly from the appointment off the schedule, or we can search up our patient at the top right-hand side of our screen. Any cases this patient has will show, and we can click the case we need to document under. We first enter the patient profile under the clinical dashboard, which gives us a snapshot of our patient's most pertinent data, making it very easy to manage our patient's case from a single screen. Since this is a new patient, we do not have much showing as of yet, but it will reflect the patient's diagnosis, vital signs, medical history, imaging and treatment plan, as well as the patient's insurance and financial information and appointment history. We have the ability to create alerts that are especially useful for high-priority information. They are great to help remind you of any particular medical circumstances that can be contraindications to care. Active alerts will generate a dialog box whenever we navigate to the patient's profile or go to complete a SOAP note. Notes we input here will show on the clinical dashboard. Moving on to medical history, we can document the patient's vitals. Under the Next tab, we can document any tobacco or alcohol use and the patient's activity level. The last tab allows us to document a full medical history, such as surgeries, any ongoing illnesses, current medications, and so forth. We are going to complete both an exam and SOAP note, but first I want to take a minute to talk about customization abilities, starting with our note templates. With our pre-built modules, you are able to build your SOAP and exam template by selecting which modules you want to include. Because we want our initial and follow-up exams to include a lot of detail, we're going to include all of the modules in our exam template. The SOAP note is essentially an abbreviated note, and as such, we're only going to include a few of these modules in the note. In addition to building your templates, you have the ability to create and use macros and further customize by adding your own items to pre-existing drop-down menus throughout the documentation module. ChiroFusion does support voice dictation, so you have this option along with manual entry. We will first complete an exam note, and then I will demonstrate how quick and easy it is to complete a SOAP note for a follow-up visit. To begin our note, we're going to select the data service and click Go. Here we can input a full history depending on what we want to document regarding our patient's condition. Working left to right, we can go to our Subjective tab. We have the option to enter a complaint manually by selecting this box and typing the details here. The other option is to utilize the pre-existing drop-down menus, and with a few clicks, it will build the complaint for us. We can select reported symptoms such as sharp stabbing pain and stiffness. We can note that the complaint is aggravated by heavy activity and lifting, and the pain is relieved by lying down as well as over-the-counter medication. We can add our own items to any drop-down menus, showing a bold plus sign. We have the option to add any additional comments if necessary, and can click Save at the bottom when done. We can continue to add more complaints if that is the case, however, we are just going to move on to the Objective tab. We have a submenu that appears showing the different modules we selected in our template settings. Using the spinal segmental analysis table, we can document pain, asymmetry, range of motion, muscle tension, trigger points, and edema for each spinal segment. This table makes it easy to meet CMS requirements and is especially great for personal injury and workers' comp cases where the more detail, the better. When noting a subluxation, you have the option to input a listing as well. If we need to note an extra spinal subluxation, we can list the extremity here and attach the technique from the drop-down menu. We can document any muscular abnormalities by selecting the region, the muscle, the location, and the symptoms. We can add any additional comments if necessary. Now we actually are not required to hit the Save button at the bottom of each page. With our autosave feature, we are able to quickly move from one tab to the next, and the system will automatically save all the information we have added to the note. So we can move on to the Range of Motion tab. We can select a method and a region. If these were all within normal limits, we could simply check this box and be done. But we are going to walk through and document some restrictions in the patient's range of motion. We can also document any pain in these degrees of motion. As you can see, the software automatically calculates the loss and range of motion for the region. Next, we can document any orthopedic tests that were performed. We will select our region, the test, the results, and input any additional comments we want to add, and click Save. We can add multiple tests if needed. The tests will be listed here, but the system will convert the tests and findings into a narrative on the final report. Under Neurologic, we will find several exams pertaining to the patient's nervous system. We can document the patient's mental status, any motor deficits, or reflex and sensory abnormalities. We have all the cranial nerve exams here. Having the tests and findings already listed makes it very easy to document. Towards the bottom, we have coordination tests, a place to input dynamometer findings, as well as a comments box for any additional information. Next, under diagnostic studies, we can document X-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, and even lab studies. We can select our impressions or findings from the drop-down menu. We can also upload any reports or images, and they will save to the patient's medical file. Under assessment, we can mark the patient's condition, the patient's progress, whether the treatment was effective, and the prognosis. This is the patient's first visit, so we will select Unable to Determine at this time. We can add additional comments here. For our diagnosis codes, we are able to search by code or description. We can store frequently used codes to a favorites menu by checking the box here, and that way we can just grab them from this menu when completing a note for any patient moving forward. Continuing on to the Plan tab, we can now create a treatment plan for the care we are recommending. We can first select the type of care, then the proposed treatments, as well as the proposed adjustive techniques. On the right, we can select the frequency and duration. We can choose long-term treatment goals, goals of the current treatment plan, and lastly, any home recommendations that we advise our patient to do. Now that we have made our selections, we have the ability to save this as a template so that we can use it with other patient cases. We just need to give it a name and click Save. We can create an unlimited amount of templates for different care plans. Moving down, we can see our plan summary, and the system actually calculates the total number of visits for the current care plan, and will also display the visits that are remaining as you complete more notes for the patient. We can input a date for a tentative follow-up exam here. Below, we can check this box to extend the treatment plan and add more visits. We have the option to list the anticipated date of release. Some insurance companies want to know how long a patient is treating. If this is not something you want to include, you can check here to omit it from the note. The last tab we have is our Treatment tab. The system has pulled over our subluxations from the Objective tab, and we can attach the technique as well as input any additional comments. Earlier I mentioned the ability to use macros. One good example where macros may come in handy is for exercise programs. I have already built out my macros and will enter the one for a lumbar strengthening program in the comments. We can enter our CPT codes by searching by code or description. We can add modifiers, adjust units, adjust the diagnosis pointers, or input time if needed. We do need to click Add after each code. Just like we did for our ICD codes, we can save CPT codes as favorites as well. Now that we have completed the note, we can sign it. If for some reason we were not ready to sign the note, we do have the option to save it as a draft and sign it later. Let's walk through saving a draft and talk briefly about task management. At the top right, we can select Save Draft, and we can see that in doing so, it has increased the number showing next to our tasks. All drafts for both SOAP and exam notes will be stored in our to-do list. We can see that we have an incomplete exam note for this patient, and it even displays where we left off. Furthermore, we can double-click to jump back into the note so we can complete and sign it, and we will get back to that in just a minute. Looking at the top half of this screen, we have the ability to create tasks for ourselves or for other staff. We can click Add Task, input the description, assign it, and input the due date. The total task amount showing at the top will increase since we are adding a task. All tasks will be listed here, and we can mark it complete once it has been completed. The task notification will decrease as it updates in real time. Alright, back to our exam note. Let's double-click on the line item, and it's going to take us back into our note directly under the tab that we left off of, which in this case is the Treatment tab. At this point, we could continue with the note if needed. However, we are ready to sign it, so we can click to sign in the upper right corner. The system is going to generate a preview of the report for us, and we can just scroll through here and see that it is nicely formatted. The orthopedic tests and findings have been converted into a narrative for the report. At this point, we can click Cancel to go back and make corrections, or go ahead and sign it with our digital signature. We would have already uploaded our digital signature into the system and assigned a PIN to use for signing our notes. So I'm going to enter the PIN here, and at the same time we sign this note, we can create a claim by moving this visit to the billing queue. This will take our diagnosis and procedure codes and create a charge or claim over on the billing side of the software. Doing this takes away the need for our staff to have to enter these charges later. Let's sign our note and jump into the patient's medical file. All signed notes are stored in the medical file. I'm going to open up the completed note so you can see our digital signature at the bottom. Once you have created an initial note, it's quick and easy to document follow-up visits. In fact, a SOAP note can be completed in less than 30 seconds. We can start a SOAP by clicking SOAP from our menu, selecting the data service, and clicking Go. The software automatically pulls forward data from the previous visit, so you don't have to re-enter it. The only thing we need to document is any changes in the patient's condition or treatment plan. Let's say the severity has gone down. We can change that here and move on. Maybe our patient is reporting less pain and there are less trigger points in this area. Under Assessment, we can show improvement in the patient's condition and that the treatment was effective. Under Plan, the system has automatically subtracted a visit from the treatment plan. Lastly, let's remove our exam code from the Treatment tab. We can click Sign, review the note, and enter a digital PIN to stamp our signature on there, and as mentioned before, we can send this visit straight over to the billing queue, completing 2 steps in one. Stepping away from documentation, I'd like to take the next few minutes to talk about a couple more aspects of the software in regards to managing patient care. ChiroFusion offers a variety of outcome assessments that allow you to easily demonstrate improvement in your patient's condition and justify the need for continued care. From within the patient's profile under Assessments, we have 4 different assessments to choose from: Activity of Daily Living, Neck Disability, Oswestry, and Quadruple Visual Analog Scale. For each assessment, we have the option to view a blank questionnaire with the intention of printing it out and handing it to our patient, or we can open up the digital version and input the answers. Our system automatically calculates the score of the assessment, and all completed assessments will display here and also save directly to the patient's medical file. Onto the medical file, ChiroFusion makes it easy to go paperless. All notes, reports, documents, and image files are stored and organized in the patient's e-file. We can add files from outside of ChiroFusion as well. We can click to add file, grab the file from our device, change the name if needed, select the corresponding category to help keep things organized, and click Add. In the event that a patient, attorney, or another provider requests a patient's medical records, we can easily export the files. We can select them all, click Export as PDF, give the file a name, and after we click OK, the file has been downloaded to our device. All of the selected files have been exported into one easy-to-manage file. Now that we have made our way through the profile, along with completing a couple notes for this patient, let's take another look at the clinical dashboard. Since the majority of information pulls through to the dashboard, it makes it very easy to manage our patient's case from a single screen. Next, I would like to speak about ChiroFusion's Physitrack integration. Physitrack is a secure and HIPAA-compliant platform for healthcare practitioners to offer high-quality home exercise programs, track patient adherence, and schedule telehealth calls. This integration allows you to quickly add a ChiroFusion patient profile to your Physitrack account and begin prescribing exercises. The Physitrack platform includes over 5,000 fully narrated exercise videos that can be delivered straight to your patient's smartphone or computer. This concludes our demonstration of our patient profile and documentation modules. As previously discussed, we can easily generate a claim within seconds from signing our note. We just need to ensure this box is selected and it will move the visit to our billing queue. All of our visits that are moved to billing will be located in the Approved Charges section. At this point, we can review the charges, make any necessary edits, and approve them. Without leaving this screen, we can open up the Enter Charges window and make any changes. For example, if this visit included specific procedure codes that we did not want to bill to insurance, we could change the Y to N for no, we do not want this code to appear on the HCFA claim form. The HCFA 1500 tab provides us with an interactive view of the HCFA 1500 form, and we can make changes here if needed as well. After the encounters are approved, they will appear in the patient's account. For encounters with insurance attached, the system will prepare the insurance claims, and from this screen, we can preview the claims and choose how to file them. ChiroFusion offers an integrated clearinghouse that allows you to easily manage your claims from within our software. If you plan on submitting electronic claims through ChiroFusion, it is as easy as selecting the claims and clicking this button. Once filed, we are able to track these claims by receiving live updates from the payer. We will talk more about this in a little bit. If we have a need to submit our claims by paper, we can click File Paper Claim. This will give us the template version so we can print this text onto the official HCFA 1500 forms. Our last filing option is to export the claims. Clicking this button will download the claim file to our desktop. We can take this file and upload it to any other clearinghouse or website. If we wanted to enter charges manually as opposed to moving our SOAP note, we have the ability to do so from Enter Charges. The billing system is not dependent on the EMR part of the system. This means we can input charges for any data service, for any patient, whether we completed our SOAP note or not. Furthermore, when creating charges, the system is going to display the information from the previous charge. So really, it's just a matter of reviewing and making any changes from the previous visit. The only time we are starting from scratch is if it is the very first entry for a brand new patient. We can add, remove, and rearrange our diagnosis codes. We can do all of the same for our procedure codes as well. Diagnosis and procedure codes can be saved to our favorites drop-down menu so they are easily accessible. In addition to our favorites, we have the option to utilize fee schedule groups. We can create groups of CPT and ICD codes and simply apply this group of codes to the encounter instead of adding them individually. When we are done entering our charges, we can save and send it to Approve Charges, or we can save and improve the encounter at the same time by clicking here. This option will also show us a pop-up message offering a shortcut to the patient's account where we can collect the copay or patient payment. Before we jump into the patient's account, I'd first like to briefly discuss some of the utilities or customization tools. There are several ways we can customize the billing module to meet the needs of our practice. Beginning with fee schedules, we can create multiple fee schedules and assign them to corresponding payers. For example, we may have a designated fee schedule for self-pay patients where we don't need to attach modifiers or input expected reimbursement amounts. We can then have a different fee schedule configured specifically to meet payer requirements. If we take the time to create a fee schedule for, let's say, Medicare with all the required modifiers, then it will save us a ton of time moving forward. This is because when we create charges for Medicare patients, the fees will pull from the schedule we have built and specifically assigned to Medicare. Moreover, the expected reimbursement amounts will pull through into the allowed amounts when posting insurance payments, again, saving us time. Moving on, we have the option to create groups of CPT and ICD codes that can be used in both the documentation and billing modules of the system. ChiroFusion already houses all the CPT and ICD codes, and it's just a matter of selecting which ones you use most frequently and creating your groups. Within our other utilities, we can completely customize our extra charges, which can be used for any product or service that is a direct point of sale with patients. Some examples include self-pay treatments, treatment plans for prepaid services, and products sold through the practice such as supplements, essential oils, or equipment. If applicable, we can attach a sales tax percentage and it will auto-calculate the tax and add it to the balance due in the patient's account. This is not only helpful because it does the math for us, but also because we can separate the tax amount from the product cost when generating billing reports. If we choose to utilize extra charges for visit packages, we can input the number of visits included and use it to track the visits within the patient's account. That way, we will know when all the visits have been used and when it's time to charge for another package. Let's move out of the billing utilities and run through some common billing functions regarding patient accounting. Every patient has their own account that will reflect all billing activity for that patient. We can even create and pin alert notifications to show across the top of the screen. We have our main action buttons where we can collect a patient payment, add an extra charge, collect a payment as an unapplied credit, make adjustments to a balance, and issue refunds. ChiroFusion offers integrated payment processing through our partner OpenEdge, a global payments company. With this integration, you can collect payments and have them auto-post directly to a patient's account. You can save a credit card on file so patients do not need to swipe their credit card each visit, and also create recurring payment profiles for memberships and payment plans. To collect a patient payment, we can click on Patient Payment and then complete the information along the left-hand side. We also have the ability to apply an adjustment at the same time we are collecting a payment if we need to adjust the balance at all. You can check the encounter or encounters we are applying the payment to and input the amounts. Once all money is accounted for, the unposted amount remaining will show 0, and we can click Make Payment at the bottom. Our screen now shows payment complete, and if our patient would like a receipt, we can click here to print one out, or click here to email the receipt. We also have the ability to add a note to the receipt before sending. All receipts are stored to the patient's account and can be viewed, printed, or emailed at any time. We can view a complete history of each encounter by clicking on the date. It will show our charges, when the claim was filed, any adjustments made to the balance, payments from the patient, and insurance payments that were posted. In cases where a patient would like to pay in advance, or when we are looking to collect a payment for a visit that hasn't been created yet, we can collect the payment as an unapplied credit. This way, the money will sit on the account as a credit and can be applied to encounters at a later time. We also have the ability to transfer some of it to another patient and the ability to create a family share to share with up to 5 patients. If we collected a payment from this patient who is also paying for his daughter, we can easily transfer part of the UAC to her account. Let's take a look at a patient that has a family share. We initially collected the payment from this account and then added her family members. The UAC appears on every member's account so we can easily apply the payment to their visits. When any one of the members uses some of the UAC, it will deduct from the total and reflect on everyone's account. Using Family Share takes away the need of collecting separate payments in each individual's account. From the patient's account, we have the ability to produce a detailed ledger or super bill within a matter of seconds. We have the option to show all details or charges only, and we can also handpick the encounters we want to appear or easily select all. This type of ledger may be requested by your patients when they are submitting to their own insurance or HSA. This ledger can also be provided to attorneys on personal injury cases. We have the ability to add an additional note to the ledger if needed. From this window, we can print it out or save it to our device as a PDF so we can email it to a third party. In addition to receipts and account ledgers, we also have patient statements. A patient statement can be generated here on demand, just like we did with our account ledger. Our other option is to utilize the statement section. This feature allows you to input certain criteria, and when a patient's account meets the set criteria, the system will automatically prepare the statement. Those statements will appear on this page, and from here you can decide how to send them to your patients. Statements can be printed out or sent to their email. Additionally, we are integrated with the patient statement service, Mail My Statements. This service will eliminate the need to buy envelopes and stamps and reduce your administrative costs. After we select which statements we wish to generate, we can print locally, send by email, or send to Mail My Statements. When utilizing Mail My Statements, we will also receive a live status update showing our statements were received. Furthermore, ChiroFusion's integrated payment partner, Global Payments, makes it quick and convenient for our patients to pay their bill online. When the patient receives their statement, they will see a link that will take them directly to a payment portal where they can pay their balance. This payment will then post directly to the patient's account against the corresponding charges, making it convenient for both the patient and the office. Let's move our focus back to insurance claims. As I mentioned earlier, once claims are filed electronically, we are able to track these claims by receiving live updates from the clearinghouse and the payer. Within the first 24 hours of sending the claims, the clearinghouse will do a soft scrub and will reject any claims that are missing required data. If they don't find any reason to reject the claims, they forward them on to the payer. Each claim will be stamped with accepted or rejected. Rejected claims will need to be refiled, and our system makes it very easy. We can select to put the claim into refile status, And once we do this, the claims will be sitting in our print send claims queue. We can then make any necessary edits and send them back out. Now, there are two ways we can receive payments from insurance companies. If your account has been integrated with Office Ally and you have set up to receive electronic remittance, those electronic EOBs are going to come directly into your ChiroFusion account under the ERA tab. From there, you will be able to auto-post the payments to patient accounts. So if you subscribe to receive ERAs from your payers, you will be posting insurance payments to multiple patient accounts with just a couple clicks. All other insurance EOB checks or virtual credit cards, whether received in the mail or downloaded from another site, can be posted manually under the EOB tab. This is a very straightforward process where we would take the information off of the EOB and input it into the system in order to apply it to our patient accounts. As we discussed earlier, if you included the payer's expected reimbursement amounts within your fee schedule, the allowed amounts will already be populated and you will not have to manually enter those in. Additionally, the system will automatically calculate the adjustment amounts along with the transfer balance amount. When we are done posting our check, we will close it. All closed checks are stored in the system and can be reverted and edited at a later time if needed. Insurance payments are most commonly posted here within the Claim Center. However, there may be times where we need to post a large payment to multiple encounters using the bulk post feature from patient accounting. This feature can be utilized for settlement checks for personal injury cases. For example, our patient's attorney has settled the case and sent us a check for our services. So from the patient's account, we can complete the information at the top and select the encounters we are going to apply the payment to. Once we are done, we click to post payment, and all the visits where the payment was applied will have the letter B for bulk next to it. All checks we post through the bulk posting feature can be found under bulk post summary. Our billing module offers several comprehensive billing reports as well as a daily visit list. The visit list will show all appointments on the schedule within the selected timeframe and whether or not charges have been generated for those appointments. It will also display whether a SOAP note has been completed. This list allows us to easily track patient flow and activity and cross-check visits to charges, making sure each account has been billed. The deposits page will provide a list of all payments posted in the billing system. This includes EOB and ERA checks from insurance companies and all types of patient payments. This page can be used to track accounting, and payments can be deposited as confirmed accounts receivable. Under Billing Reports, we will find various reports that can be used to help track billing activity and productivity. Each report will have filtering options at the top of the page, and we can use these filters to determine what shows in the report. We can track patient aging by viewing a list of all patients with outstanding balances. The Insurance Aging Report will show all pending insurance balances broken down by insurance company. We can click Details on the right-hand side to see the specific patients. The Payment Summary Report will display all payments posted. This includes insurance company, EOB and ERA checks, and patient payments. You'll notice that sales tax has its own column on this report. The Account Activity Summary provides a comprehensive overview for self-pay and insurance data service activity. This report gives details for when claims are filed, insurance info, data service, status, payments and adjustments made on insurance, and patient balances. We can also filter this report to include insurance activity only or self-pay account activity only. All reports can be printed and can be exported as an XLS file and downloaded to our desktop to further manage in a program outside of ChiroFusion. In summary, ChiroFusion's user-friendly billing system with our Office Ally and Global Payments integration makes billing for your practice fast and easy.